Hello and welcome to another Whisky Talks. So yeah, I did my first Whisky Talks the other day and I quite liked it. So I've come back out to my garden to talk about something else that I've been thinking about. And that is that the world of whisky seems, or has over the years, created these myths. And I thought I'd just kind of talk about them. I think I don't know. I think it's a difficult one to say, because I'd like to say that the people that are in the know wouldn't really set too much store by these myths, but maybe some of them that I'm about to talk about, even people in the know or maybe leaning that way, and potentially I am too. So I've got my wee notepad here, which I have written down some of these myths. First off, number one myth: it's a man's drink. Okay, I don't know where anybody gets this from. Is it because it's its roots are that it's rough and tough, when it was first kind of born into existence as a real rough liquor rather than the nice polished whiskey that we drink nowadays? So people kind of associate it with big burly men getting pished, and that women can't handle it. And let's not forget as well that the old in the UK at least, even in my mum's day, it was kind of frowned upon a little bit for women to be even going into pubs and stuff. So there would have been a point where women wouldn't have been used to drinking that much, and especially not drinking a harder liquor like whiskey. So it probably stems from that, but now it's just complete hogwash, really, isn't it? It's quite a stupid one. I mean, for me as well, it was my girlfriend that got me into whiskey. So yeah, she was into it a long time before I was, and yeah, I'm so glad that she kind of got me into it. It's been a rather amazing journey. Okay, so that one, it's a man's drink. Complete rubbish. Anybody that thinks that is a tool. It's to be drunk neat only. So no ice, no coke, don't put it in a cocktail, anything like that. Or if you do, use a blend or something like that to make cocktails with. I kind of get that a little bit, but only because I appreciate whiskey the way I want to, which is normally neat, and normally the way that I don't know if the distiller intended it that way, but I'm drinking it the way it comes out of the bottle, because that's how I enjoy it. I mean, if you enjoy it with ice in it, if you enjoy it with Coke in it, Fanta, Iron Brew, any other drinks are available. It's totally up to you. It is a weird one for me. I do have this inner conflict, whereas I think it's just because I want people to have the same appreciation as me, which maybe sounds a bit arrogant or something, and maybe keeps that whole kind of stigma going. But for me, it isn't. I just want them. I mean, and that's again, this is the trap, isn't it? I'm just falling into it myself. So I was about to say I just want them to enjoy it as much as me, but people that put ice in it probably do enjoy it as much as me, and if they do enjoy it as much as me, then it's a good thing. If you put Coke in it and you enjoy it as much as me, then fine. I just think that if you are to put Coke in it, if you do put Coke in it, or Iron Brew, or whatever your soft drink tipple is, then you're not going to pick out the same flavours as me, which means that we can't really connect over it. And the one thing I like about whiskey is the kind of community on it, or the talking points that it can give you. So you can talk to anybody who drinks whiskey, and you've got some kind of common ground there. Whereas if you're just putting Coke in it all the time, I'm not going to really find that common ground with you, because you've got a different set of tastes to me. You're sweetening it already, and I can already pick out a lot of sweetness from the ones like this, which is Glendronach 12. So yeah, I do kind of cringe a little bit, especially if it's an expensive malt and somebody just slams Coke in it. I'm kind of like, really? Did you need to do that? I mean, would there be a difference? What I'd like to know, I guess, if you are a whiskey and coke drinker, if I gave you like a White and Mackay or a famous grouse or something with coke, and then I gave you say a Glendronach with coke, would you be able to taste the difference? And I guess there would be some differences, whether it's, you know, the differences that other people can pick out without the coke between these two kind of whiskies. I don't know, but you know, I have heard that. I mean, I'd probably be interested in trying like a smoky cokey, which is like one of the smokier kind of whiskies, and some coke, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. That is like the main myth. I want people to enjoy whiskey, and I want people to enjoy it the way that they want it, but still something within me kind of cringes a little bit when I see somebody putting coke in it, or even ice sometimes. You know, I'm just like, ugh. But you know, that's just me, and I would never actually kind of call anybody out on it unless we were just having a banter and a bit of crack, like. Okay, so the third one is quite a big talking point. I'll probably do some other whiskey talks about this one. Older is better. Now I know for a fact this is rubbish, because the Glendronach 12, but it's each to their own tastes. For me, I think that's rubbish because, well, for instance, the Talisker 10, fantastic malt, I love it. There's this Glendronach 12 for me outshines the 15. I do like the 18 a little bit more than the 12. I'm trying to think of some other examples. There's definitely some non-age statement ones that I've tried, where I've been like, oh, this is like really close, or maybe even better than some of the age statement ones. But again, you know, it's down to your own individual tastes, and there's nothing wrong with these NAS or NAS non-age statement whiskies. You know, nobody should be looking down their nose at them. They are quite often cheaper, but it's been born from this, or this myth has been born from, you know, the whiskey industry being in a slump and having to not selling their whiskey, and so having to store it and having the expense of storing it, and so having a lot of old stock left over. So they started to put out this, oh, older is better. Of course you would. If you've got a lot of old whiskey to sell, you're going to say older is better, right? So it's up to us consumers to not just buy into the bullshit all the time, but, you know, and make up your own damn mind. There's so many good non-age statements out there, and also there's some really good blends out there as well. I mean, there's some age statement whiskies that I've tried that I'm like, I'd rather have a blend, and equally there's some non-age statements that I'd rather have a blend as well. I think the cool thing about blends is that they can really, you know, pick and choose the kind of flavours that they want. Obviously you can do that to a certain respect with malts as well. You've got that kind of proven recipe of how you do things, but there is going to be variations, as we all know. So yeah, older isn't better. Older is normally much more expensive, and doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a better dram. I'm trying to think of what's the oldest one I've had. Oh yeah, of course. So if you check out the main playlist, the Whiskey Trials, the main reviews, it was the Ben Bracken, which was a 23-year-old malt, which I think may well be the oldest one I've tried without counting like nips and pubs and stuff. It's definitely the oldest one like I've reviewed. Okay, so 23 years old, and it was okay. It was nice enough, but you know, the Glendronach 12 here shits all over it. So does the Talisker 10. In fact, even like, you know, the Talisker Sky was much more interesting. You've got Glendronach as well. I think they do an 8 now, which is you know, fairly highly regarded. So yeah, it just doesn't matter. Find the one that you like and drink it. hopefully you can afford it. All this buying old Macallans for 1 point odd million is just daft. I mean, nothing's worth that apart from printer ink, apparently. Yeah, so I kind of covered this a little bit. So the next myth is single malt is better than blends. This is a difficult one as well, because for me, it depends. Obviously, it's a personal opinion, and it comes down to like a kind of a story thing for me as well. Like the single malt has more of a, it seems like it's got more of a story, and maybe a bit of, like, I don't know, majesty, or like kind of myth and legend and all that kind of stuff about it. It comes from one distillery, so everybody there has put some of their heart and soul into making this expression, you know, and there's something quite magical about that to me. So from that side of things, I choose the single malts. Are they better? I don't know. I mean, there's so many nice malts, and there's so many nice blends. I think throughout the whiskey trials, I've kind of focused on the malts a bit more, single malts, and I've not done too many blends. But I tell you what, one blend that I did really enjoy was Shackleton, and I think part of that was the kind of story behind it. You know, the whole Antarctic kind of expedition, Scott, and, you know, this guy, the blender guy, I forget his name, you know, kind of, they dug out some old bottles or something that had been in the ice for ages, and then he got to taste it, and then he was like set on this journey to kind of recreate it. I loved the whole story on that bottle, and actually the blend was fantastic. So yeah, I think blends can be right up there as well. So the last one I've got is, I hear this from people quite a lot, and I'm going to do another video after this one a bit more about this topic. And the topic is, or the myth is, that it all tastes the same. Now, of course, all us whiskey aficionados will balk at this and, of course, scoff and all the rest of it. But I suppose it comes down to how much whiskey you've drunk, and for the beginner, for the novice, for somebody who hasn't drunk much whiskey, I think it can be quite a big deal in the palate. You know, it's quite an explosive amount of kind of alcohol going on, and very strong. So when you're not used to that level of alcohol, it can definitely overwhelm the tastes, I think. So yeah, and I've had people say to me as well that they can't, or they're not enjoying the malts, the single malts, as much, because a lot of them are going to like sort of 46, and they prefer the ones that are 40, or even the sort of blended ones, or the grain whiskey, which is always at 40. And they just quite can't handle that extra 6% even. So it definitely makes a difference. And I think, obviously, it doesn't all taste the same. We all know this. But the people that say that it tastes the same are people that have limited experience drinking whiskey, and perhaps haven't given it a chance. So yeah, obviously it doesn't taste all the same. You know, they've all got their own kind of characteristics, and regions, I suppose, have their characteristics as well. Though I guess Islay could make a whiskey that tastes very much like a Speyside, and vice versa. So yeah, that was my myths that I'd kind of just written down while I had a nip, and I thought I'd talk about them. So yeah, join me on another Whisky Talks. I'll be doing some whiskey walks soon, and check out my other videos too, and subscribe. Slanty.